Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. First up, officials say state's role in bullying cases limited by current New Hampshire law. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Amy Cavino.
Join Issue while we kick off the summer sales event. Get 0% financing on models like the Mirage. It has great features like Bluetooth and keyless entry and is available for under $12,000.
Jen, Delaney Marcotte's father told News 9 they notified school officials and got nowhere, so they took it up a level to the school board. Today, this journalist got a taste of what it's like to get a straight answer about bullying in New Hampshire. When Delaney Marcotte testified about the threat of being shot with an AK-47 and buried in her backyard, people were shocked. But when asked today about how that threat should be handled, the state admitted it wasn't aware of the Plasthouse situation until WMUR covered it yesterday.
The role of the state is limited in New Hampshire. It is local control. The RSA 193F, the bullying law, as it's known, puts the onus on local school districts and their policies.
The State Department of Education called the gun threat a police issue, so News 9 went to police. The chief said she was aware of the threat, thought it happened months ago, and confirmed they never investigated because it was handled at the school level. But was it?
Bullying is a problem in our school. I am a victim of it. My parents have contacted the school about it, but it continues.
It made me feel like that he was actually going to come after me.
Today our calls to the superintendent and school board members in Plaistow were not returned. The Department of Education says its ability to intervene in how bullying is handled is limited by current law, so legislative reform might be needed. Lawmakers we spoke with say Delaney Marcotte is brave, and maybe a study should be done. The state of New Hampshire does keep track of reported incidents and logged a total of 2,233 bullying complaints in the 2016-17 school year, which represents about 1.2% of students in New Hampshire. Of those, about half were investigated. Stephen Berwick says he takes a handful of calls a week from parents about bullying in their child's school.
Well, I always ask parents, think in your mind, what is the issue that you have? Why? And what do you want? What do you envision as an outcome? What is it that you would want to ask the school district to do?
If you're a parent concerned about a bullying situation at your child's school and are frustrated with the school's response, Stephen Berwick says his office at the Department of Education can help. The phone number, 603-271-2299. Live in the studio, Amy Cavino, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Three people rescued off Cape Cod jetty. Let's take a listen to the video from WCVB Boston.
Crazy fast internet? Done. Now Xfinity Mobile's included. You could save $400 or more a year, which you could spend on a fantastic music video.
Simple, easy, awesome. Click, call, or visit us today.
Well, Emily, tonight we know those three people, 2 men and 1 woman, are okay. Now, they were trapped out there on that jetty, which is just off the Kennedy compound. These 3 people grateful to see rescuers from the Hyannis Fire Department.
The caller reported that there were 3 people in trouble on the Hyannisport jetty.
The call came in just after noon. 2 men and a woman fishing off this jetty in Hyannisport.
That jetty is pretty much directly in front of the Kennedy compound.
Trapped and unable to get back to shore.
It is not an uncommon place for us to effect a rescue. The tide can change there, and when it does, it becomes high tide if a wind picks up, and we have probably 15 to 18-mile-an-hour winds there this morning.
Strong winds and slippery conditions made it impossible for them to get to safety. Luckily, they had cell phones and could call for help.
They tried to get themselves off of it, realized they couldn't get back. At one point, the woman fell and sustained some abrasions and lacerations on her leg.
The woman treated once she was back on land, all three able to make it home safely. Today's situation, something local rescuers prepare for annually.
We probably do 4 or 5 of those a year, sometimes more, sometimes less.
All right, and Captain Kenny tells me that the Coast Guard was notified of that emergency call, but ultimately did not need to deploy. Reporting live in Hyannisport, Nicole Burley, WCVB News Center 5.
Nicole, thank you.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Lewiston Middle School student dies on field trip, superintendent says. Let's take a listen to the video from WMTW News 8 Maine.
Today's modern pest phrase of the day is quiz.
Tell me everything you know about deer ticks.
The black-legged, or deer tick, Ixodes scapularis.
To learn more, visit our pest library online at modernpest.com.
Breaking into Poland, where a 12-year-old has drowned at Rang Pond State Park. It was a Lewiston middle school student who was visiting that park on a field trip. Officials said a 7th grader was playing football with some classmates around noon today when he went under and never came back up. Authorities say because the water was so murky, the boy wasn't found for almost 20 minutes. He was pronounced dead at a Lewiston hospital. About 120 students there on the field trip at the time. Police tell us a second student then had to be given CPR on the bus ride home after passing out following that drowning. Police say that student was taken to the hospital as a precaution, but is alert and okay. Lewiston Superintendent Bill Webster says grief counselors were at the school today to help comfort students and will be made available tomorrow as well. We're going to keep following this story throughout the newscast. Tracy?
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Tuesday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you this evening. U.S. stocks close little changed after Trump-Kim summit. U.S. stocks closed little changed Tuesday after President Donald Trump and North Korea leader Kim Jong-un signed an agreement aimed at establishment a peace regime on the Korean Peninsula and a better relation between the two states. Mattis not surprised by Trump's call to end military exercises, Pentagon. Let's take a listen to the video from ABC News.
Of Lexus hybrids. This should clear the air. Now comparably priced to the rest of the lineup. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
And I'm doing something that I've wanted to do from the beginning. We stopped playing those war games that cost us a fortune. You know, we're spending a fortune every number of months. We're doing war games with South Korea. And I said, what's this costing? We're flying planes in from Guam and we're bombing empty mountains for practice. And I said, I want to stop that, and I will stop that, and I think it's very provocative, especially, George, since we're getting along. In other words, we're in the process of signing something. Excuse me?
Did you talk about pulling troops out, U.S. troops out?
We didn't discuss that, no, but we're not going to play the war games. You know, I wanted to stop the war games. I thought they were very provocative, but I also think they're very expensive. We're running the country properly. I think they're very, very expensive to do it. We have to fly planes in from Guam that's 6.5 hours away, big bombers and everything else. I said, who's paying for this? I mean, who pays in order to practice?
What other kinds of
So
security?
one of the things that I suggested and I want to do is we're going to stop the war games unless for some reason we're unable to go further.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And back to the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Tuesday evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow with another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night, everyone. Bye.